Welcome back. We've got a new intro. We thought we'd try something different. If you know where this one came from, you're definitely a true OG of the New Zealand downhill scene, but otherwise, you haven't gone to the wrong place. You're back with the OTB podcast, the original and still the best New Zealand-based mountain bike podcast. Critics are saying it all over the place. We're finally back in the studio this week, and we're with pretty much the entire gang, and we're going to wrap up what's happened over the summer. Apparently there was some 26-inch race a few weeks ago, so we've had a few people DMing us wanting to know what went down with that one. Probably better touch on that, along with some of the big wheeled racing too. I'm your host, KB, as always, joined by Red Dog. Red Dog, how are you?
Good evening. Hey, I'm just concerned, have we lost the very nice front and back leaders garment?
Well, maybe we'll put this up to the listeners. We'll see how they feel about this new intro. For a lot... Jesus, you all right there, mate? You're just falling over.
He's done. We fell over. No, well, I got some feedback from one Dom Stoolin who said he really enjoyed that.
Well, maybe we better integrate them together. I don't know. I just that song felt like it fitted pretty well. If you know what it's from and you're the first one to slide into the DMs, then I don't know. Maybe you can be the first one to get some free merch when we finally get that up and running.
And if you're Booger Beasley, please don't sue us.
Well, I'm sure he won't know what's going on here. I'm sure we'll be fine. Joining us this week, Chris Vanderkolk. Chris, how's things?
Very good, thank you, Kerry. It's good to be back in the gutter with you fellas. It's been too long, and while I enjoyed listening, just couldn't stand on the sidelines any longer.
Yeah, we had to drag you back down here eventually. We couldn't let you get too far out. And the fourth amigo, Lester Perry, apart from looking horrendously sick at the moment, you're all right, mate?
Yeah, I would say I'm the picture of health, but I'm the picture of unhealth at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not what you were a couple of months ago.
Nailed me. Nah.
Yeah,
No, what I was a few months ago is a distant memory.
For the listeners can't see what's going on here. If you remember the movie with Mel Gibson, it was the Scottish movie. His name's William Wallace.
Braveheart.
And there's the one character in there who dies of chlamydia. Yeah, Lester looks a bit like that. Face is falling off.
Get it on your face.
I don't remember that part, but it's good.
That's kind of what it feels like.
His kids are standing by his bed, and he's just wasting away. He's like, one day all of this will be yours.
One day you kids can have the camper van.
As they're walking out, they're going, fuck, let's sell his bikes.
Yeah. Let's make sure he gets that Kiwi back before he dies.
Yeah.
He'll be lost forever.
It's totally gone off the boil. I need to get back on that. That's my winter project.
Yeah, you got 12
Actually,
months.
that's a good segue into pretty much why the four of us are together is national champs. And obviously the 26-inch national champs that essentially turned into a race that I feel like this podcast rigged so that we could just take a title. I mean, is that pretty much correct?
Yeah, I'll defer to you on this one, Red Dog.
In a nutshell, yeah, sure. But, I mean, it was open entry. Anyone could enter. I heard a lot of people referring to it as the vintage national champs, and that's certainly not the intent. Chris, you'll back me up here.
Yeah, no,
the riders might have been vintage, but not the bikes necessarily.
Well, the riders were vintage, yes. Yeah.
It wasn't so much vintage as celebrating the golden era, but it also, the event sort of did have a few ulterior motives. It was really an excuse for us to get Nathan Sharrett back into a place of potential physical harm, and he delivered on that, which is good.
Yeah.
Well and truly delivered, as always.
Yeah. And also an opportunity for us to get Kieran a little bit drunk, which doesn't happen often enough, so we all had a good time.
Yeah, we didn't get too. We were all pretty tired by the last night, so didn't really get a good chance for a blowout, did we?
A blowy?
Well, I don't know what you were down there for, but I said blowout.
A blowout, got it. Sorry, misheard that.
Yeah.
None of us got a chance for him. Sorry, I'll stop there.
There was 6 dudes in one house. Let's not go down that route.
No, it wasn't a trip. That was a good trip.
That was a good weekend, though.
This was a bad idea.
I mean, just to recap for the listeners, the 26-inch champion was our own Red Dog.
It's the one and only national title I've ever managed to win, and it's needless to say, you couldn't get a bigger title. I did win a BC championship, but and it's a close second to this, obviously. And I don't often go on about my BC championship. I know you guys you probably didn't even know I won that.
Nah.
But yeah, great title to win. The trophy is actually Luke. He put a lot of time into the trophy, and it's now residing at Bikeaholic in Queenstown, up amongst an old Sam Hill. Sam Blenkinsop.
He probably put more time, effort, and money into this race than all of us combined.
So much more. Yeah. So much more. He had so much more on the line, and it was fantastic to see.
He actually did something.
Yeah, he actually did do something.
We put more time, effort, and money into going to Lone Star than we did actually racing.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. You could say a sponsor of this event was Gout, and
bad diets.
Yeah,
Gout was the winner on the day.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, did you? I think you actually indulged in a steak one night at Lone Star, but the other night was definitely the ribs.
Yeah, I came in hot with the ribs. Speaking of winners and losers, I think the biggest loser from the weekend was Banger's nuts, or at least his nut enclosure. Yeah.
Took some damage. There was one competitor down, actually. He went out early, didn't he, with a nut injury?
Well, sustained damage on the Friday night.
True to form of this event, it was, he went down early. But the other competitors remained.
Yep. What are your takeaways from the racing, Red Dog?
What was that, sorry?
What are your takeaways from the racing?
It's really hard to take much away other than the fact that 26-inch bikes may or may not be competitive anymore. Having not ridden a proper downhill bike, to me, racing a 26-inch downhill bike, it still feels like I'm going really, really fast, but that's really, really not true. So we need someone like KB, who dogged the whole event, to be fair, to sort of
more than anyone else did.
Nah. Yeah, it was in the wrong categories for me.
Wheels were too big.
And you went to bed. Put it this way: you only went to Lone Star once.
Well, me and Lisa didn't get the invite the other night, so we just went and had a date. We went and had we had big old pasta. We were carbo loading for the XC.
You were.
It didn't pay off for me, that's for sure. Maybe that was the problem.
It was your 34-tooth chain ring was the issue.
Well, yeah.
I can assure you, Lisa, that a bowl of ribs wouldn't have helped.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, that's
but
good.
yeah,
at least I shouldn't feel like I missed out then.
No, I guess as an event, let's build on this one. Everyone's got a year to prep. We heard a lot of stories coming from the paddock around people who had bikes in the wings, waiting in the wings. Obviously, Connor McFarlane showed interest in buying or acquiring a set of boxes from me that he will get eventually when I log back into Instagram every 3 weeks.
Are you logging in on a desktop or are you actually still using your phone?
Yeah, no, it's on my phone. Yeah,
okay.
On the browser,
so that's
though,
good.
Right?
Oh, it's in the browser. Yeah, it's in the browser. It's real punishing.
Fuck's sake.
And all I do is go to the message bit. So I'm like, oh yeah, Connor's replied, cool. So yeah, that's fantastic.
We are
going to be doing a bit of a write-up
as well,
Chris.
Yeah,
so
we've got to work on that.
Listeners, look out for that. You'll see some imagery of some fantastic bikes in action. The Zero Factory team will obviously featured heavily. And we even got our own podium.
Just a self-serving event.
Yeah, it was a self-sourcing event. Absolutely a self-sourcing event. Yeah.
But no, I think we captured the imaginations of mountain bikers over the age of 40, and we're not. So that says something about the target demographic.
I was well and truly captured.
Leicester was captured.
Hey, you should see the demo that listens to our podcast. I mean, that's our people.
I know, that's what I'm saying. These are our people.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was most exciting actually was, well, no, there's a lot of exciting moments from the weekend, but the build-up and the rumours that started floating around about who was buying what and who was trying to do deals on what. Leicester talked for months about tracking down his old Kiwi, and that never happened. So he's got another 12 months to do that. But stories of Scholesy trying to track down a Turner. You had
the Lahar team potentially showing.
The Lahar team, yep. Which, to be honest, it's probably in everyone's benefit that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's probably better that they weren't there.
Yep, your Byron Scotts of the world,
your punters.
But yeah, I think we need to start the campaign now for next year. And the other good thing about it, as the organising committee, is the event format location is flexible, but prerequisites are that there is a cable operated uplift, so chairlift or gondola.
What's going to happen if it goes to Christchurch into the adventure park? You're going to die on those 26-inch wheels and those rocks.
I think we put Chris didn't write.
You will
put a pretty good show,
hate it.
Pretty good showing on that pivot when we were there.
You looked good.
Yeah, no, the form was fine. Don't you worry about it.
It's no Coronet Peak.
I mean, somehow,
you're right.
Somehow,
you're right.
The field managed to puncture at Coronet Peak. I don't think anyone punctured at
no,
Coronet Peak.
There's no rocks at Coronet Peak.
But like a few riders in the field managed to puncture. So the adventure parks, it's going to be a challenge for us. Yep.
Look, Kieran, you're right. We probably will die, but it's better to die for a cause than on the couch with hand, foot, and mouth.
What about both? If I can get through this, then I can die there. Die happy.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be good. That's living or dying, whichever way you want to look at it.
I feel like you guys really heated up the vintage market over the summer. It seemed like there was a lot of shit getting dragged out of sheds and way overpriced on Facebook Marketplace and Trade Me for a while there.
Yeah, why do you think we're hoarding things like 26-inch boxes to sell on not the secondary market, but like the tertiary market?
Yeah.
Like we're operating like a sub-market.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a clear dip in the industry right now. Do you think that is extended to the vintage industry as well? Do you think they've all just gone back to the shed for another 12 months?
No, you look, the old...
We'll try to sell this again next year.
The whole industry's feeling the pressure at the moment, Kerry. They're overstocked. And that's just the same for 26-inch downhill bikes.
Well, look, they say in difficult economic times such as these, smart investors put their money in the recession-proof industries. So your government bonds, healthcare, that's about it, and 26-inch mountain bikes
and vintage bikes.
Yep. So for any of you speculators,
like
you
gold,
listeners out there,
it's just like gold, actually. Yep.
Yeah,
just like
we'll be launching a fund on Sharesies pretty soon, so that's coming in the next couple of months. That's one of their. So they're doing KiwiSaver and the 26-inch National Champs Fund, which you can invest in. Yep. We can't guarantee returns.
We're on the NZX.
Yep. So
hey,
it's good.
Speaking of vintage, you'll never believe what showed up in a courier bag out of the blue today from one Ross Mackay. I don't know if he's a listener or not, but a set of Hayes Mags brakes.
Oh, that's hot. What ones?
Yeah. The I don't even know what kind of colour, like the grey kind of coloured ones, like
the champagne with the purple logo.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, that's the ones.
Fuck, that's so hot.
Are you going to put them on the foes that you're never going to ride?
Possibly. It'll probably sit on the wall next to my Sunday that I've never ridden as well.
Yeah.
Oh, those are sweet. Do they look good, Nick?
They probably need a tidy up. I mean, Hayes never lasted well as they were, 6 months out of the box, so they probably have seen better days, but I didn't get a good chance to dig right into them, but that's a later job.
I swear I had a set of those on like a 2001 Big Hit, and I swear to God, the bushings were like, I think they just left the building. So it was just the most pivot slop you'd ever felt on a lever.
Probably weren't even in there for a start.
Gone.
Put a Coke can in there. Hey, speaking of vintage, Sam Hill won Oceanias in the weekend.
Oh, it's contentious.
His first. So let's go back. his first one since 2006 in Rotorua, which also he got beaten by Fabian Burrell there, but Sam took the title because he was Oceania rider. But then his other one, his one that he won before that, was 2003. And for anyone that has social media, which is everyone except for Chris and Red Dog, and his post today, he put up the results from the 2003 race, and there is some gems in that.
Where was it?
It was Eildon, I think. It was in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah. So Hill clearly wins. He puts in a 8-second win.
Ooh.
Decimates
Absolute
the field.
hiding.
Shane Woad in second. I vaguely remember Shane Woad. I think he rode a Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. Jared Graves in third.
Not familiar.
He's done a few things, hasn't he?
Tim Nelson of Nelson in fourth place.
Yes.
Wow.
And that is of no surprise, right? Like, is he the fastest rider to never do much?
Pretty much, I think so. He's the best New Zealand rider who never did anything outside of New Zealand. He's got to be. Well, he clearly got a fourth place
Where
here.
is he now?
Probably on a commune somewhere, I reckon. We'll scroll through them quickly. Jared Rando, Justin Hever Heineken in sixth. There's a few great mid-2000s names here.
Yeah.
Glenn Hayden, seventh place.
Still slaying, too. Absolutely slaying.
Justin Leov, what's he done?
No.
Joel Panozzo, one of the very fast Panozzo brothers.
Which one was faster?
Joel was the fastest, for sure. Liam never really did much. Liam was the same age as me. He only raced for like 1 or 2 seasons, but Joel had some
good normal
top
results,
fives in that at World Cups. Yeah, he had some couple of World Cup podiums in that too, I think. Bryn Atkinson in 10th. There's a bit of a gap. I'll flick back through. Tom Holland, 16th.
Tomo.
Oh man.
Nathan Rankin in 22nd. But Nathan Rankin's seeding time would have put him second in finals. So clearly something went down. Yeah. James Dodds, 25th.
Legend.
Yeah, the lad.
Here. Tim McKenzie is over there. That looks like it's Scott Sharples was racing. Fucking hell.
Pretty good field.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was early to mid 2000s when there was, I feel like the field was deeper. But
I mean,
that's a topic for another day.
I kind of feel like that as well, but it's just because the names are familiar and feel safe to me.
Yeah, it feels like putting a nice warm blanket around you.
like
cuddling up.
These Meek guys, I don't know who they are. I don't feel safe with that. Like,
no,
feel safe with
it just doesn't have the same comfort to it, does it?
20 years ago, that's fucking terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't really have much more of a topic. Actually, no, I do have a little bit more of a topic on there. I brought this up in our brief show notes that we started writing. So Richie Rude won and looked pretty good. I mean, the field obviously wasn't deep there. There wasn't a lot of names I recognised, but Hill was second. Those two sounds like you're going to race some World Cups. Where do you put them? Their ceiling. Where can their best finish be at a World Cup?
Should we start
on a good
with
day?
Jedi Dick?
Why not? He won the race. Let's start on Richie.
I think Richie can go further than Sam can.
I would 100%. I would 100% be with you on that.
I reckon Richie's ceiling this season is 20th is the best result.
Oh,
that's
kind
a hell
of
of a
low.
result. But
I mean,
I think he can build to it.
20th.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like I'm putting him into like 9th.
I'm going top 10.
Yeah, I'm going single digits. He's got pace. I mean, he's leading the EWS after the first 2 rounds. He knows what he's doing.
He's got a pretty good head for it too, by the look of it. Like, I've been there, done that with World Cups and things.
Jesus,
I
I don't know how to
reckon
mute
he'll be
this.
top 12 at some point, but I don't reckon he'll get top 10.
You don't reckon he's in for a top 10?
Well, it depends. To be fair, like if you think Manar may not come into the season that well because he's been off for a while.
He's been broken for a bit.
Young mate has blown his appendix up.
Jackson.
So there's
I mean,
two guys.
There is a lot of names. If you started going and looking through the top 10 overall, you're probably going to go, fuck, he's not going to beat him, he's not going to beat him, he's not going to beat him. But, you know, in my rose-tinted glasses, I want to...
Yeah, that'll be interesting, though.
I'm going single.
That'll be so interesting to see.
But see,
I
think like the field is so deep that a top 20 or like a top 30 would be a pretty impressive result. Coming back and having not raced downhill for so long, and on a bike that we don't know anything about, right? Like they haven't had a season of racing on that bike yet.
I don't think that matters. I think they've got themselves dialed enough. Yeti's pretty on it. But I think you're right. There's so many heavy hitters now, and on any given day, there's one of 15 dudes can win a World Cup, plus all the other guys who are up there as well. Like, how many Frenchies are waiting in the wings?
You look at the way the teams are all set up now too, and I think it goes deeper than the rider. You look at like all these teams, and they've got people out filming and timing and doing all of that shit. Where Richie's probably going to turn up to a World Cup with their team manager and a mechanic, and not gonna have that full noise level of, you know, like the common style team probably do, or the specialized team and that sort of thing. So, but maybe, I mean, that's how he goes and wins AWS races. So maybe that's what works for him. Maybe he doesn't need all that additional shit to think about.
If how the intensity compares as well in a race run. Like, my gut feeling is that the intensity of a downhill race run has to be higher than an enduro one, but then
I don't know. You look at those enduros now.
So intense now, yeah, exactly. So maybe that, you know, if we were going to do it in any year, this is probably the year to do it.
There's no fucking around in enduros anymore. They are full pace.
The thing that he might have working to his advantage is the race format this year as well. You know, they've got, what is it? They're effectively doing 3 race runs over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And
qualifying.
That's basically just enduro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he might just have that stamina over the weekend that maybe some of the younger guys don't necessarily have.
Well, I guess the experience factor there too, right? Like he's used to doing those multiple runs, used to doing multiple race runs, where the others are used to building through the weekend to that final 1 or 2.
Yeah, and he's fucking strong. Like he's not going to be lacking on anything like that.
Especially if he's on that
That'd
rhino
be interesting.
What was the difference between him and Hope?
It was about 4 seconds, I think.
Okay.
This is my next point, right? So
that's reasonable.
I think that tells you a lot about maybe where
4.2
where Hill's at, but also if he's going to top 20 at a World Cup, I think he's got to be doing a bit more damage at this race than what he's done.
Who, Richie or who?
Richie.
Yeah.
But it's all relative, right? Like, you're not going to even... Greg Minnaar wouldn't turn up to that race and beat everyone by 20 seconds, really. Like, he would win, I mean, potentially, you know. He might win. It's a little bit like Jackson down in Queenstown. Yeah. Like, you know, he won, but it wasn't like he totally decimated the field.
It was a pretty good win.
Debatable.
Yeah,
I mean,
for that track.
He was 3, I mean, other than Laurie in second, they were 3 seconds ahead of third place.
Yeah, all right.
So,
I mean, and, you know, Red Dog and I
sorry to rain on that one, but...
There wasn't a lot of time to be found on that track, Lester.
No.
I mean,
Red
Dog and I went looking and we couldn't find it.
Well, they found 15 seconds out of my pocket, so I don't know where that went.
Yeah,
they found about 35 or 40 out of ours.
Jesus Christ. I've never like had such a like decent run and been so far out the arse of my life.
Well, I mean, at least Chris and I have the excuse of a wheel size that was founded in the fucking 80s. You know?
It's just getting sucked into the holes, into Narnia.
So I feel quite good about that result, to be honest, Chris.
I feel good about surviving the weekend.
I feel good about it.
I do have a question, though. I
got beaten by a dude with a single crown.
That sucks.
Really?
Yeah. Fuck my life.
It was like when Dan Booker beat you at Crankworx, on an enduro bike, and same conversation.
Yep. Which year?
There was talk of retirement at every time, but yeah.
I should just give it up.
A good portion of that top 10, World Cup top 10, was down in Queenstown for most of the summer doing team camps and testing and everything else, right? And I think I'll be interested to know what sort of a pre-season Hill and Richie have had. Like, I imagine Richie's done a shitload of development on that bike. Obviously, he developed the bike, but I don't know. Like, can you come into a season having not raced downhill for that long, and like make an impact?
I feel like the gap between the level that you've got to ride an enduro at now compared to downhill has got so much closer together that it probably wouldn't make such a big difference.
True.
Like, it used to be so much more about surviving a big day. I mean, there's still big days now, but it seems like it's become so much more of like just punching 5 or 6 downhill race runs.
Yeah. What do you reckon? So what's it like UCI average length of a downhill runners now?
I think it's under 3.
Time window. I think you might be right. Like, something makes me think 2.5 is kind of the average, and then your enduro runners probably 4 on average to 6 maybe on average. So the difference is reasonable. I think even if you were to go, when we're talking about intensity, I think the intensity that you run in a 4 to 6 minute track over versus the intensity you run a 2-minute track, even though you're going as intense each time, the intensity on the shorter one is higher. So do you think that he can adapt that to that, or is he going to be racing a 2-minute track like it's 4 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait till we see a sharp at a race.
That's great. That's really great analysis right there.
Yeah, that's good analysis, isn't it?
Great bench racing. I think that's what they call that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
why don't we just wait and see, eh?
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
Hey, am I right in thinking that Martin Mays is racing some downhill this year?
Nah, you're not. No, you're not right, mate.
Stuttering.
I don't think you're right at all.
You're breaking up, Chris.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Oh, we've got you again. What's happening?
Did I leave the room for a bit?
Yeah, we didn't get that question.
My question was, am I right in thinking that Martin Mays was going to be racing some downhill sometime soon?
Are you kidding me? Again? For fuck's sake.
We missed that.
I don't know what Martin Mays is doing, but if it was a question about him racing downhill, I've got no idea. He
did quite well at the last EWS. Like, you always think he's out. Like,
he did too.
This is kind of the end of Martin Mays. But then he kind of is there or thereabouts.
I still thought he was riding for GT
Jesus,
2 months
come
ago.
on, Kerry.
Whoa. Where's your finger on the pulse, man?
No, I've been too busy.
He's too busy fucking skating. he's too busy lining Roscopp's pockets with that bloody hand deck.
It's either that or riding gravel. So it's one or the other.
He's all longboards and gravel riding, eh?
Chris, I reckon we've got a bit of a task here where we revisit some of the early OTV podcasts and we just clip some of KB's comments about gravel, because he is deep gravel now.
He's
such deep gravel.
And he's turned
deep fake.
He's turned real fast as well. And quite like fast, but also sort of quietly, like. But now the other thing though is that he'll just own it.
No, he did.
He's
a multidisciplinary athlete according
to
his love for gravel. Like, That's how deep he is.
I have a question for you, Red Dog, on that. Do you think it's strategic? Like he's looking at how he can
absolutely. He's a
maximize his
businessman.
value to
I'm
the
just
brand.
following the money, boys. I'm following the money.
Oh,
he's hedging his bets across like the whole industry. Where's he off to the next day? Like, you know, he's got gravel, he's got the downhill, he's got the cross country. He's sort of claimed that he's got enduro, but
yeah, no, he's still got it.
I'm gonna go and be
relatively short though.
I raced it. I race on and off. I raced an EWS qualifier last year, which I didn't actually enter it as trying to get into the EWS, and thank God, because it meant nothing anyway at the end of the day. Apparently, all the rules changed.
As our EWS points correspondent Caleb Smith tells us every time we talk to him.
Yeah. I might become like a classics racer. I'm going to go race some cobbles or something like that. That might be the next one.
No, you know,
go to Flanders or
get your entry. That'd be kind of the equivalent of you racing. That would be the equivalent of Bernard Kerr racing A1.
It would be.
Just like Chris, would you say if Kerry is hedging his bets, going multi-discipline, would you say we're kind of scratching around on the casino floor looking for drop chips?
Worse than that, we're scratching around on fucking like internet poker. We're scratching around on the pokies. For listeners who are eagle-eyed and keep a close eye on Kerry's Strava, which if you don't, I'd advise you to go and do it, just so Kerry gets his
give him some kudos,
because it is a form of social media after all. Give him some kudos. You'll notice he's actually doing a bit of running as well, so we can expect to see him in sort of your Xterra off-road triathlon space sort of this time next year. I'm calling it. He's just looking for the next challenge.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with you, Chris. I got some pace to find, but I think it's in there. I'm just got to find out how to unlock the legs.
You should see Red Dog up a hill.
Blew me right away.
I did once put Chris to the sword on a run in Nelson many years ago, so there must still be something hiding in there.
Yeah, I had another 10Ks on me back then.
Yeah, there was rep life days, so yeah, it wasn't good for you.
Yeah, I think I come straight from Lone Star, right?
It was 10 kegs and half sips.
10 kegs. Quick trip to Torpedo 7, talk about Merino, Lone Star, half zip vest, and then off for a run with Kerry. That's the rep life right there.
Wow. That was how it was done.
That was that.
Times have changed.
Pre-COVID.
Did anything interesting happen over the summer? Did anyone? There seemed to be a lot of people get into wake surfing.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Well, that's on the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, curious about this.
The wake surfing seemed to be a real hit over the summer in Queenstown.
Well, it's weird, right? So mountain biking is a sport. You know, it has a culture that goes along with it, and sort of things come and go from the sport of mountain biking. You know, whether it's your Dickies when back in our day and your Fat Tongues. You know, you sort of had to have your Dickies or your Ben Davis if you're on a budget. And then, you know, there's a time there where you had to have a dirt jump bike. You know, these days you have to have a cross-country bike if you're into downhill. But it seems like these days you have to have a wakeboard boat and you have to go wake surfing.
But it all just seems to be
a wakeboard boat.
No, this is my problem. This is why I feel left out.
Is it just sort of... does anything make you feel less relevant than going to Queenstown and not getting the invite out on the boat?
I don't think we've got the Instagram. I mean, you two aren't even on there, but I don't think we've got enough followers. I don't think we've got enough clout to get invited on.
Maybe next year. So that's another thing we can work on, Chris, for next year's edition.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be the after party. Surely he's got some 26-inch bikes or can find
I should hope so.
Yeah.
Well, he's just built a pump track at his house, so there's plenty that could go on there.
Perfect.
Oh, there you go.
How do you know? Do you invite Kerry?
No, I just so happened to see it on Instagram.
Kerry's teeing up a live broadcast of the podcast.
Yeah, we might have a sponsor. We might have a sponsor, but probably not from there.
Oh, we're in the gutter now. Doesn't take long to get there, eh?
Nah, well, it took us a wee while today.
So yeah.
Did anyone did Crankworx happen this year? Did anyone pay attention to it?
I don't actually want to talk about Crankworx.
It was Jesus.
Well,
I don't know what to talk about.
I think Lester's on the. He's got a deal bubbling away. He doesn't want to tarnish.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk about Crankworx because if I say something bad, I might lose my job.
He's got money on the table.
I watched the downhill.
It's funny.
You got a gig?
I watched the downhill as well, and the downhill.
Do they build on that? You think?
I do have to say.
The downhill was really good. The rest of it, I barely noticed it was on.
So Red Dog and I were talking about this.
Is that just because we're not the target demo anymore? It's not targeted at mountain bikers.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good point.
What were you saying, Chris?
But that's what's weird about it, right? Like it and that's cool. Like if it's just a big festival of mountain biking and it's a big kind of thing for people to come along and watch. That's great. That's what it's going to be. But they're in this weird place, and I imagine Red Bull is in a really weird place.
When he wants to make a really...
Jesus, Chris, your internet connection is terrible. Every time he talks, it shits itself.
Seems like you're going to say something intelligent
for the best, isn't it?
The downhill, I timed one of the runs, and they were showing about 2 minutes of footage on live footage for about a 3-minute track, which was pretty impressive. So basically, two-thirds coverage pretty much. Yeah. It was pretty good.
Okay, my connection might be a bit better now. What I was going to say.
Well, it sounds better. Yeah,
great. So I think they've got a bit of a conflict on their hands in terms of what Crankworx is, because if it is that whole festival of mountain biking kind of in-person spectacle, that's awesome, and they do a pretty good job of that. I think, like, a lot of people in New Zealand travel around for it, and they're starting to get like mainstream media supporting it and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. But if you're Red Bull, I kind of wonder if they're looking at Crankworx as their way to maintain their mountain bike proposition, particularly downhill. And it seems like with Crankworx, they dilute the main events, like the slopestyle and the downhill, with all the sideshow events. And then when you try to follow what's actually happening at Crankworx, it's like if you sort of, I don't know, whether it's Pink Bike or whatever else, it's pretty hard to actually get a picture of where the event's at, like what's coming up. They don't do the build-up they used to. And I think part of that is because, I don't know whether or not they are still a media partner, but Pink Bike used to be a huge part of the whole presentation, right? And they seem to be less so these days.
Yeah, I don't know if they are anymore. They don't seem to be as involved.
Did they live stream on Pink Bike this year?
No.
Because I know that's what they've done other years.
Some of the events with Pink Bike, they didn't provide any coverage of the event, like of the downhill or whatever, pretty much until it was on. Like there wasn't a build-up, there wasn't, they didn't have people on, I don't think they had people on the ground, but they had people covering the summer series stuff. So it just felt super disjointed. And the downhill and the slopestyle sort of seems to get lost amongst all that.
The athletes on the, like the people that are there doing everything, say like a Bass Van Steenbergen or say Blinky, who are racing downhill slalom, whip off, everything. They are run off their feet at that event. Like they are going everywhere. They literally come off downhill practice, they grab a pump track bike, go to pump track, do practice there, and then they'll be doing whip off that evening or something. And it's just like, it's massively full days, which I think that's kind of been probably unaccounted for how much effort they're having to put in, especially because they've got all this money up for grabs for King of Crankworx and Queen of Crankworx and stuff like that. So I think there's a good point in that there's too much stuff going on now. Maybe those other races need to be left for the amateur racing or something to bring people in.
I think the other thing that was quite telling is there were a lot of World Cup athletes that were in the area that didn't go and race, right? So the Syndicate boys could have been there.
It was a ton.
Bernard was obviously there and presumably spending most of his time supporting the team, but he didn't race. Like Loic raced. And so you've got to kind of wonder, Crankworx not able to pull those people together to race what could be a pre-season World Cup and super valuable for the Crankworx brand and for Rebel and everyone else, and none of them turn up to race, but they're in the Southern Hemisphere and country,
Guys like Loic and Loris, who else showed up for a kind of one-off? Nico Mullally. Surely they were getting paid by Crankworx to turn up for that, because they weren't just coming all the way down here just to do a one-off race.
Well, Loic had been here, right?
They've been in Queenstown.
Yeah, but there's got to be some pull for it, because they were getting promoted heavily as well. Like
but if
early
that was
on
the case,
when they were coming.
why wasn't just a stacked Red Bull field? Like, because if it's like it's more Red Bull's event than Crankworx, right? Like, Red Bull stands to gain more from the downhill being a spectacle than Crankworx does, I think anyway. But and hence they put more energy into the downhill than the other events. They live broadcast it. They don't live broadcast the kids 16-inch pump track nationals or whatever it is they do. But they could have it as like a really stacked Red Bull event and make it a big Red Bull thing, but they didn't.
Yeah, it does seem strange. And it does, like, from the outside, it seems like they could sort of park a whole lot of those events where, your dual slalom and your speed and style and whip off and whatever else they have, and just focus on the core stuff, like downhill, enduro when it lines up, the slope style, and do a better job of it.
Enduro won't line up anymore.
And then the other thing,
enduro won't anymore, but yeah.
Like, if it's supposed to be a big, like, live event spectacle, they didn't even have the downhill at the event village. They had it in the forest, which is cool because it's a sick race and it's a sick track, and awesome to get like a live broadcast of that track. But it must have been, if you're a punter that's driven down from Auckland to go and watch a bit of racing, like, that's a ball ache. And especially like if you're a sponsor who's got a big like site and everything, and they take the premier event and move it somewhere where you don't have a presence, it's a pain in the ass.
It was a bit of a standalone, really, the downhill. Like, it was the weekend before, and then there was like 3 days off before the rest of everything else started. So it was kind of just run on its own thing now. Yeah, so it was kind of weird. The whole thing needs a shake-up. I feel like it's got stale.
They have shown like indication because they've pumped in some money for the downhill prize money, if I'm not mistaken. So they're sort of indicating that they want, and obviously getting Rob on board. Like, they're indicating that that's what they want to pick up.
But that's what I mean about it's more like, or it should really be. Like it could have been Red Bulls, or is presumably partly Red Bulls, kind of replacement for the World Cup between this and Hardline, and I think they're doing like a few more Hardline races. But Red Bull could really piece together a really good Red Bull series, and this could have been the kickoff of the season, and they would have got the jump on the World Cup as well. Like it's sort of the Crankworx in Rotorua had the opportunity to kind of replace Sea Otter as well, and it looked like that was going to be the case, and then it just, like, I think COVID fucked it for one, but they just haven't seemed to have been able to recover very well from that.
I don't think you'd never replace Sea Otter, but you mean
as a season opener, particularly for downhill.
But I think the hard thing is that the World Cup is still everyone's focus, right? And if you've signed a contract, I'd say a 2-year contract a year ago, you've still got a year on your contract, and that contract probably says that you basically have to focus on the World Cups. And then you've got these Crankworx things that come along. That's all well and good, but if your focus and your kind of contract says you have to perform at the World Cups, you're probably not going to go to New Zealand to race a downhill. And even if you are here, your training is building for the World Cup season. It doesn't start for ages, so the risk, the interruption of training, all that kind of thing to do a Crankworx race in New Zealand, it's kind of like, well, why do I bother? But
especially when I'm going wake surfing in Queenstown.
Fact.
Yeah, but you give that some time. You're on mute there, Chris, too. You give that some time, and once those contracts start rolling over, when by then the Crankworx Downhill World Tour or whatever it is, more premier, you might see those guys start to hit.
I feel like you might know what's actually going on there, Lester. Yeah, because that sounds like what should really be happening, right?
It's probably in a bit of a building phase. I mean, Red Bull kind of has been left, got kind of hung out to dry, so to speak, I guess, by the on the World Cup series, and they have the potential. I mean, they're a media company these days.
But that's why I think, really, I agree with you, Lester. But from a sponsor's perspective, from a team's perspective, a big part of why you're pumping money into a team, obviously you want to go racing and win, but a big part of why you're pumping money into a team is exposure, brand exposure, and if Red Bull, Red Bull's got a vested interest in making sure people see what happens at Crankworx, and again, that opportunity for that to be the big season opener, get people super hyped about the season. I think they've missed the opportunity to do that this year.
I think this year they have, but I also think that it's a long-term strategy, because you can't just, their budgets would have been set last year, travel budgets, okay, whoever might be down here with his bike, but he might not have his mechanic here. And if they're to kind of want to show up and blow up, then they're going to have their mechanic, and they're going to need a tent, and they're going to need this and that, and that budget's got to come from somewhere. But what I'm getting to is that as this kind of builds, maybe next year, they know that this thing's coming, so then they have that built into the budget. And then it's like, okay, guys, next year your race plan is Crankworx New Zealand, then there's a 2-month break, and then you're going to be into the World Cups. We're going to send the mechanic down, all that kind of thing. So it's a little bit like what the World Cup changeover with Discovery and stuff is like. They're not going to launch it all in this first year. That's kind of a growth process, and I wonder if that's the way that Crankworx almost needs to kind of... maybe that's what they're doing.
It does sound sensible, aside from the fact that Crankworx has been operating for years now, right? And this seems to have been the lowest ebb in the years that it's been coming to Rotorua. So I agree with you, but I do agree with you, but it sounds like they've got to rebuild a bit.
Does it need, I don't know. I mean, from what I heard, the numbers were the highest they've been. They say that every year, though, but...
In person to be the interesting one.
But this is my point, though, right? If you're Red Bull, do you care about the in-person numbers?
No, you don't, but I bet the online viewership of that downhill was pretty high.
Probably not as high as the OTP podcast, but I'm sure it's getting close.
No, not even close.
Yeah. I mean, it's still weird that all the zeros keep falling off your reporting at the end there, Kate.
Are they falling off or getting added? Depends. It depends if you're looking at the reporting or the sponsor proposal pack.
Put the comma in the wrong place.
Honest mistake. It's an honest mistake.
Honest mistake.
But you're locked in now, so you might as well sponsor us.
20,000 listeners this year.
I won't bring the wife in, the auditor.
Keep her away.
Oh, man. I don't know what else happened.
Let's move on.
I got
what else happened this summer?
One thing that I'd like to raise, and I know it's dear to myself and KB's heart. Earth is no longer on YouTube.
What?
So it seems like 2, 3, and 4.
This is probably the worst thing that's happened.
1 and 5.
They know what they've got, Red Dog. They know what they've got.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened. There was a guy hosting them all. He was doing God's work. It was all fine.
Oh no, we've had some news.
It's back.
It's back. Chain TV 11 days ago has uploaded Earth to YouTube. So we have some Earth back, but it definitely does not have the whole movie on there.
No, come on.
That's upsetting.
Maybe somebody brought some rights to
some of the music was blocked out.
I don't know. He's only
blanked off.
True.
The other thing I want to raise is just condolences to all the mountain bike photographers of the world losing their jobs to ChatGPT or to AI. So
now we're starting to talk my language.
Lester's blowing the whole industry wide open.
Lester's what we call an input engineer.
Let me just say that the mountain bike photographers don't need to worry because ChatGPT, well, any of the image stuff cannot create a good downhill mountain biker. I've been trying. I was like, oh, here we go. Let's get an easy OTB podcast logo going. Honestly, it's so hilarious.
Can you, Lisa? Can you get ChatGPT to pump us out a script for the next episode?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hang on.
It'll be more coherent.
Here we go. I'll just say, one paragraph intro for.
This could
great.
go
okay.
so poorly.
Went wrong.
This is the definition of where you run out of fucking ideas and using ChatGPT to create an intro for your podcast.
There's actually it's pretty legit. I've been playing around with some image generation stuff, and if you're a photographer, maybe not so much a photographer, but definitely if you're a designer, you've got to start wondering if you find a new job. Or you use AI, bring AI
can
into your workflow.
Can ChatGPT replicate Sven yelling at privateers to get out of the way because he's got because he's contracted to shoot the rider that's coming? Or can it replicate Caleb attaching multiple flashes up trees and then yelling at you to drop in? Can it do that? Fish from above. Does it know fish? Yeah.
Just one more time.
If you type fish from above into ChatGPT, what does it bring you? Because if it's a photo of Scalzi, then we're good.
What did it spit out for you, Lester? Did it give you anything good back?
It's just processing
takes
now.
Bloody time. This is off the top of our heads.
Right up our alley.
Yeah. Jesus. You'll never replace humans.
No, I literally wrote that just now. Here we go. I'll screenshot it.
Wait, you're going to read it to us?
Oh, I thought you were going to read it out on air.
Oh, Kieran's going to read it.
No, one of you guys can read it because you need to
imageries.
See
while we're waiting for that,
hang on.
I mean, images are a great audio medium.
Anything while we're waiting for that, Kerry? Anything you're looking forward to the World Cup this year?
I'm pretty curious to see how this new format of qualifying, semis, and finals goes. It's going to be interesting to see who can. There's three. There's going to be 3 race runs now. There's no kind of laying up in those, so I'm pretty curious to see how those go. That's for sure. First round is pretty exciting.
Have you got your race pass yet? Your GMBN, MTBNZ race pass?
Done that. Can you do that?
Oh,
so I'm assuming
do you want me to read the new intro?
Yeah, go on.
I had to ask it to halve it because it made it too long. Welcome to the OTB Mountain Bike Podcast, where we explore the world of off-road cycling, sharing insights and experiences from the perspective of a professional photographer. Because I asked it. So here was my prompt: write us an intro for a mountain bike podcast in the voice of a professional photographer. From epic trail rides to adrenaline-fueled races, we'll cover the gear, technique, community, and culture that make mountain biking such a unique and exhilarating sport. So grab your headphones and let's take a journey through.
What a fucking boring podcast!
Fuck, you better send me a screenshot of that.
That's amazing.
Oh, jeez.
We'll start the next episode with that.
GPT was a 55-year-old man with a Yeti.
Well, we can rewrite that.
A dentist.
Hang on, let's rewrite that as...
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, you'll be able to relate to this.
It just comes... This is going to be verbatim Kerry's interview from earlier.
Okay, here we go. What's up, fellow shredders? Come to the Mountain Bike Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of... We dive deep into the world of off-road cycling, from insane trail rides to heart-pumping races. As a skateboarder who's always looking for new ways to push the limits of what's possible, I'm stoked to share my insights and experiences with you. We'll talk gear, technique, and the tight-knit community that makes mountain biking such a rad sport. So grab your deck and let's get riding through the mountains together.
Grab your deck, let's get riding. Can we now get it in the voice of a gravel racer?
I just can we vote in favour of Kieran reading that out verbatim for the next podcast?
Yes.
That's really good.
I raised my hand in favour of that.
Oh.
Yeah, that motion
Jesus.
Yeah, that passed.
I've asked it to rewrite it as a professional cyclist.
There's a strong...
oh, dear. Our poor listeners, eh? Our listeners are literally...
So clip into your pedals and let's ride through the mountains.
Man,
literally listening to us
brilliant.
read ChatGPT. That's where we've gotten to.
Just to bring it back, one more thing I would like to raise was the EWS stuff in Australia. And most importantly, Medina being evidence of the false economy.
Oh.
Absolute evidence of the false economy. You think
Huge.
Nelson and Rotorua are bad? Woo.
Yeah,
but
no, I mean, I don't want to.
It looks so good. It looks so good.
Take anything away thing from was it Remy Meyer-Smith that won, or was it Luke Meyer-Smith? But apparently he'd spent all summer living in Medina.
I think look good.
Yeah,
I think we should go
There's
there.
got to be some kind of rule that if you literally build the racetrack, you're not allowed to race it.
I mean,
it probably is pretty fair.
That would undermine all of Kerry's Kaka results.
Yeah, no, he didn't build it. His mum just did the timing.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the timing was rigged by your mum,
it takes away every single result. Takes away every single result I ever had at Nelson.
Hopefully we can get it back on the timing this winter, because I wouldn't mind doing a winter series race over there.
Can we get to do the timing just for the 26-inch class?
I feel like it should look favourably on our times.
We'd know who her favourite is, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would definitely be Kerry.
Look, my downhill bike has flat. I mean, my downhill bike is in the same state you guys is, and it's probably not going to come out again until next summer.
Someone needed it, but the race plate's still on it.
Mine's still on the bag.
It's good.
Has it made it to the roof yet?
Kerry's downhill bike's got gravel tyres on it.
It's not quite
the
that.
downhill
it's
bike
not quite
is
that grim.
almost in the roof with Cam's BMX.
It'll make its way there
Cam
soon.
Cole on a BMX. That doesn't compute. Can you type that into ChatGPT? A horse on a BMX.
Thing of beauty.
Oh, he's a big horse.
I can't send you guys photos on this stupid thing because KB's using the version.
Yeah,
well,
if it's free,
right.
it's for me.
Hang on, I might be able to use a screen share and I'll just open it on screen. Record this computer.
I feel like
too hard.
I feel like we're going to start just losing. I mean, if we didn't lose them already, we're definitely going to lose people more so now, and we're just about to hit the 1 hour mark.
Control
so
for podcasts.
We could probably, we could probably call it good for this week. I reckon we've definitely run out of topics. I mean, we used ChatGPT for the last 15 minutes.
We can definitely call it something.
Yeah, I mean, we've only got about 3 months until the next race comes, so we should have plenty of time to work on an intro with ChatGPT, and our listeners can give us some feedback on if they want the old intro back.
What's up?
I come from the land of down under. I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you. I let it be like John Lennon, the anti-serum that you don't get for poisonous venom. Read the label carefully, I'm only here for the show. I love hip-hop too much to let you feed my ego. In the key of F-U-C-K, Y-O-U. I mean, why do I owe you if you're not helping me through? I mean, why do I owe you if you're obstructing my view? Success is not my castle, just a house that's brand new. You see, I irrigate the culture, give it shape like a sculpture. Still complicated, rock like I'm supposed to. B-L-I-T-Z like my DJ. Rock to the rhythm like you rock to what he plays.